One thing to make sure you follow up on is quality, quality, quality. We're going to talk about it here with an expert who knows all about it. Welcome back, everyone, to your little castle show. Carter Rethwish, a.k.a. the Cardinal Cowboy. I get to talk to experts. We talk about it all the time. Benjamin here had a specific advice for me about, I said, what's the biggest mistake people make? And it's so often people are buying cheap components to put into their brand new finished house. Why would you do that? And how often is it that's the mistake people make, and you have to stop them?
A lot.
Why does that matter so much?
Well, from the beginning to the end, there's so many choices to be made, you know, and when you go with a cheap contractor or cheap products, I don't want to say you get what you pay for, but, you know, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
I just was, my buddy just quoted that one to me over the weekend. But yeah, you're going to throw junk in. You know, what do you expect to get, except for junk out, right? You want to have the high quality.
Well, and a lot of contractors, they play the part and they sound knowledgeable, but a lot of them come in when COVID started. You know, you got to weed out I like to call them the COVID contractors. You know, that come out when COVID hit. You know, it displaced a lot of people.
Right.
And when you're taking bids, you're getting bids from a lot of those people that just ain't learned yet. They look competent, and they're just not knowledgeable yet.
Yeah, somebody that dresses up and looks the part, but do they have the actual experience? Somebody like yourself, 30 years of experience. We're going to talk a little bit about what he got into and how the hardest part of his business, and we'll give you a little preemptive clue right there, everybody. But when it comes down to it, you'll do a lot of residential, obviously, but you enjoy doing some commercial too.
I put a lot of hats on. You know, my motto is you can't get it if you don't bid it. So I try to entertain any offers that, you know, if I could get in and get a bid in, I will on it, just about anything.
So that means you're ready to compete and give the best price. And commercial, residential, everybody should be ready.
Absolutely.
You're going to give them the best bang for the buck. Be fast, complete construction, knowledgeable, done right, and complete. We kind of came up with that because I said, tell me about yourself. I said, it sounds like you know what you're talking about. It sounds like you're going to do it right, and then complete's part of your name. So befastconstruction.com. All right, well, I know it's a lot of work to do residential. Tell me what you enjoy most about the commercial side of it. Why do you enjoy doing commercial jobs?
Oh, the money. You know, the money goes up. The size of the project goes up. So, you know, you're in it longer. You don't have to look for work as often.
Somebody real honest right there. The money, everybody. I mean, those are big jobs. But what's an average commercial job go for?
Well, it just depends. You know where you're putting the bids in. A lot of times you're in schools and upper end commercial projects that are in larger buildings. You know that.
And you've done all these types of jobs. So you know how to handle
since I've been on my own, I haven't sold a lot of commercial. You know, through my career, I worked on commercial jobs, but I don't know how to get myself in that circle to, you know, to put your name in the hat.
Well, here's a good reason, everybody. If you're looking for some commercial bids, Benjamin's got a lot of experience. He'll show you what to do and can handle the work. But a lot of effort goes into that. Well, tell me, I can only imagine by now 30 years you've also got a lot of experience with helping people. Can you give me, without naming names specifically, but a couple times where you saw somebody, you call it follow-up work or clean-up work. How often were you cleaning up after somebody else? And tell me
Since the storms, you know, there's been a lot of instances where contractors come in and mess the products up, chop everything up. They're trying to learn on your dollar, you know, so you're coming into a situation, home addition or just siding or roofing, you know, you see it all messed up, chopped up, and you got to come in and take brand new products off or tear brand new decks down. They're just improperly built.
So the installation was done incorrectly. Products might have been still
good products,
quality, but they weren't installed correctly. So now you got to tear it out.
Tear it all out. Brand new decks. Tear it all down. Can't use none of it.
That is not the way to build. Right?
No, that's not what you want.
What a waste. I mean, gosh, because often, like you said, if they're buying good quality stuff, but they're not installing it correctly, holy cow, you're going to end up wasting all this new material.
Yeah, and that's a hard lesson to learn. It's a hard pill to swallow that you got to have all those products tore out because it was improperly installed.
Yeah, well, and you don't want to have somebody who's doing that kind of work working on your stuff to begin with. But what would you say it's also important for people to validate who they're hiring, right?
Well, just because you hire the big guy don't mean he's going to come in and do your work, and people often think that that big quality warranty is going to be implemented, but then you get the cold shoulder from them and they're like, take it up with your insurance. I hear that a lot of times too.
Wow. So yeah, so go call your insurance company, see what they think about this, and maybe they'll come in and tell us to do something different than what
Get that tail light warranty.
We've heard about the. Tell everybody, what is the tail light warranty?
Once you can't see the tail light no more, the warranty's gone.
That's right. The warranties last as long as you can see their tail lights, and so often we don't want to offer tail light warranties to everybody, because once they're out of the purview of your sites, then that warranty.
Check them out online. If people are advertising online and they're in a platform where other people can scrutinize them, you could trust that, because homeowners will get on there and tell them what you think. Or look on those 411 sites where there's a lot of them COVID contractors right now. You look at them taking deposits and not coming back.
Well, how often is that the case? I know of one instance that just happened not too long ago, where somebody said, I think it was $6,000. I'm not going to name it. I don't even know who they were, but it's a friend of ours that this happened to. They took $6,000, promised to do the work, and then disappeared.
I see it.
How can that happen?
I see it a lot.
How does that happen?
I do bids all the time that people are still waiting from the storms. People took deposits and they're just ghosting them.
Ghosting them, everybody. That's code for like acting like a ghost. You can't find them, can't see them. You might hear some running, some.
And a lot of them, they just don't have no way to, what are you going to assume for their Moosehead Willie? They don't have anything. You're going to waste $5,000 in court trying to get $5,000 out of them.
We've all heard these horror stories of things that don't go the way that we all hoped that they would. But again, do they look the part? They come to the door, they're knocking, they're saying, "Hey, I'm ready here. I got you. I can do your work. Don't ask too many questions."
They look confident.
I won't tell you too many lies. But once they start in, you start figuring out they don't know.
It's just hard to weed them out. You look at them and they sound competent, they sound confident, and they're just not.
Yeah, that's why check out their Facebook, check out their rankings, check out that they have a website. These are all important things that'll help people.
It's hard to duck it online. It's really hard. Once people get on there and start slandering you, it's all over.
Yeah, you don't want somebody talking. That's why you want to do what you can to produce the best quality work.
Yep.
Make sure that you're
quality and be nice.
What would you told me earlier? The first rule of business. What would you say that is?
Number one rule is be nice. You got to be nice. A lot of customers what they want. So you got to be able to roll with changes. They change a lot of stuff, change products, change their mind in a lot of ways, and you just got to roll with it. A lot of times you're doing stuff that you don't want to do, but you do it because you're going to do it right and make them happy.
Yeah, I mean, how often is it the case that there's something going on and they go, "Oh, I didn't realize, but we'd like it to look this way," and you got to politely explain.
Change the colors, change the products.
Wow, what kind of products do people typically change that they don't realize?
Flooring, siding, stuff like that. You put the product on and they don't like it. I'll put it on, take it off as many times as you want, but you got to adjust the numbers accordingly.
Okay, so they're going to pay for that a little bit.
Yeah.
You can't be switching out all the time, especially those materials. Once you've paid for them, you can't return those, can you?
Yeah, and it's hard to explain to them that we got to take this stuff off and do it again, because now the products are blowing up, or you got to bring in a product rep and tell them the products are failing.
Not the way to do construction.
No, do it right the first time. Get the good products. Get a good installer. Do your due diligence. Do your homework on the contractors.
We talk about that all the time. Do it right the first time, and then you don't have to do it again. Well, tell me what's one big challenge you've had to overcome as a business owner.
Just growing from nothing. You got to start out somewhere, and it's hard to get the contracts. It's hard to get the, I got a lot of.
Well, yeah, like when you're getting started, you're trying to drum up the business, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to get stuff going with other, not just contractors, but businesses where you could get materials,
Right.
Get that material up front. So you ain't got to get those upfront numbers from the homeowners. That's oftentimes things that scare people off, is wanting big lumps of money up front.
How often is it the case that those relationships that you establish with the supplier companies are so critical, because those guys are the ones going to help you to make your
It's
bids,
hard to
right?
get accounts open when you're starting out. You know, you got to get those accounts where you could offer products, some quality products, without getting those big numbers up front. It scares people off, especially when you're doing work for the state, or I do contracts for HUD housing and things like that, where you got to supply everything till the end, and you got to have credit for that.
Yeah, getting credit when you don't. I got to have credit to get credit, but I can't get credit until I have credit.
It's a hard road to hoe.
And these are things that these are the dilemmas of the small business owner, and where they get started and how they get going. But somebody who's done it for a long time. But overcoming those challenges, you've done so. And now, what do you think you learned mostly from going through those challenges?
Just be honest, be honest and be nice.
Be honest and be nice, everybody. These seem like common sense things that most people would understand. But how often have you seen where somebody you could tell somebody wasn't treated nicely, and probably somebody wasn't being honest with them, and you had to come in and fix the situation?
Big projects, home additions that have gone horribly awry from the concrete up. You got to tear these things out and do it all over again. Go through the permits, because oftentimes they're omitted. They convince the homeowner they don't need them, and it's important. A lot of the inspectors don't scrutinize everything, so even bringing somebody in outside of the inspectors don't hurt.
There you go, everybody. So these are the things you should make sure you're doing things right. Do it right the first time, because how often we cut those corners, and especially when you see other guys come in and they're not doing, like you talked about the first show. Check out that first show, everybody. Benjamin talked about it, but if they're not using the quality products too, I didn't realize. I thought generally people got the same quality products, but there's different tiers for all of that, and that can have a lot to do with.
From everything, from the beginning to the end, you could skip the products from the concrete on up.
And as you mentioned that earlier, a second ago, tearing out concrete. You've had to come into projects and do that?
Oh yeah, the pier work on porches, everything's improperly installed. You got to start all over again once they've already paid for a complete project.
You don't want to have to tear out concrete, everybody.
No.
As somebody who's dabbled with concrete a little bit, those are big things. You get sledgehammers, you get jackhammers.
Big ticket item.
Big ticket item to have that done. All right, we've got a lot more fun. We've engaged in the community, and we're going to share a little bit more of the clip we had. We just did this event this weekend. Little Patriots embraced Josh Grayson. I'm going to cue this up so that you can hear from Carol Watanabe. She's been running this organization for coming up on 25 years. 21 years she's coming up on here with Little Patriots Embrace, helping military families for this. They've got children. They got to help take care of the kids. So check this out and enjoy.
No specific funding for that, right? The military people get paid a little bit for what they do, but families need some help. So Carol's made this mantra for 20. Congratulations, Carol. Good job. Thank you. With that, I'd like to introduce the founder of Little Patriots Embrace, Carol Watanabe. Come on up here, Carol. Carol's going to stand up.
I'm just standing up here, barely able to speak because I had lost my voice. I was in Dallas, Texas the last couple of days, and I was at another big event and came home and I didn't have a voice. I'm just getting it back, and I'm leaving on a flight at 9 a.m. to another really important activity, and I've got to have the voice, so I'm not going to talk very long, but I just want to thank all of you for being here and thank our sponsors for coming through for us this year. We have over 1,000 military children waiting for a deployment package. Their parents have deployed, and we had no way to serve them, and now we do, because everyone's sitting in these chairs, and I thank you for that.
Yay. Thank you, Carol. You're an amazing job running an awesome work. I've been working with Carol now since 2013. So my first event with her was on the field at Busch Stadium. Now batting for team, whichever, and the different sponsors. I had a last-minute sponsor come in, shout out from our Car Shield guys, and they said, "Here's how much." That's nothing. These guys, we're getting a lot of guys in a little contest, see who sells the most, and then they get the hit on the field.
His name is Carter Rethwich, but in St. Louis, he's known as the Cardinal Cowboy. He's a well-known fixture in the stands at sporting events in the Gateway City. He's one of its greatest cheerleaders, a super fan like no other. When he makes his rounds at almost every home game, he shares his love for sports with the rest of fandom with a smile, a cheer, some positive encouragement, and lots and lots of selfies and pics. But the Cardinal Cowboy was born of a tragic incident. Rethwish was an aspiring athlete in high school and college. He dreamed of playing in the big leagues, but those dreams ended when he and 3 of his college friends were hit with a devastating crash by a 5-time drunk driver. One of his best friends died. Carter suffered a critical head injury. The trauma put him in a coma for 6 days. The doctors said he was never expected to function again. Those expectations never came true. He fought back and finished college. He was determined to prove the doctors wrong. Among other inspirations, it was his love of baseball that kept him going. And from his near-death experience, the Cardinal Cowboy emerged. His goal in life became to inspire others with positivity despite the odds, to help people believe in themselves and achieve their dreams.
So after my coma, I realized that it was up to me if I was going to accomplish my goals, if I was going to reach my dreams. Despite what the naysayers would say, the people that were discouraging me, like they do everyone, it's up to me if I'm going to make it. Don't listen to the naysayers. It's up to you. You decide whether you're going to succeed, whether you're going to reach your goals. Dream, and then always, always chase your dreams. Never give up. Giddy up. Hey everybody, Cardinal Cowboy here. I want to invite all of you to be part of my new team. No, you don't have to put on a baseball uniform and be a super fan. Now, it would be a good idea to cheer for the Cardinals, the greatest team in the history of the National League. But I'm talking about the Gold Cowboy team. You know, I love to help people follow their dreams and reach their goals in business and in life. So that's one of the reasons why I'm telling you about my friends at My Metal Pro. They help people like you and I acquire gold and silver.
12:30 at night on Thursday,
that lets you
Friday,
safely
and then 1
buy,
o'clock in the morning
sell,
on
and
Saturday.
store
Oh,
gold
wow.
and silver.
There's pretty
They
good
make it
audience.
really
People
easy
are
to
watching
get
this to try to find
My Metal
roofing
Pro
or
isn't like the big
construction
guys you see
They're
on
watching
network
them so that
TV
they can
or the
go
big
on
coin
the
shops
website.
that take a
That's
huge
where they learn
commission.
from you later.
So become part of my Gold Cowboy team. Scan the QR code
up that way.
or go to goldcowboy.com and check it out. Giddy up.
Well, there we go, everybody. That's the fun stuff we get to do, and a lot of the you get the story there. The Cardinal Cowboy. My buddy Paul said we got to put that together so people understand what's going on here, why you do this thing. So with that, that's where we put the cowboy hat on because I've been doing this in the community for a long time. It's a fun thing we can do. Benjamin said it looks like you have a lot of fun at doing what you do. Fun life, he said, and that's true. But life is what you make out of it. So, but we talked about how media has changed the world, and if you're going to be on this little planet with a small business, then you should probably understand how to use media. Magnetize your media, #1 seller on Amazon. Yours truly wrote the foreword here, right? They said, Carter, you essentially wrote the first chapter, and I said, I appreciate that, guys. But they even took my picture and put it in this thing here. There it is. But yeah, you need to learn how to use media and how technology has changed the world and how it's getting done. I know, Benjamin, you're getting a new website put in place here, and they're going to show off a lot of your. How has technology changed in the construction world itself?
Not real savvy in the technology aspect of this. You know, I've been advertising on Facebook for a long time, and I just haven't implemented the right tools to grow like that. You know, I spend a lot of time working rather than figuring that aspect out.
Well, we'll help you with all that stuff. How is the technology within the business world? Now you got laser pointers and jackhammers and a lot of things.
Oh man, they're lovely. You know, I've converted over to all battery. You know, I like that. Not dragging all those cords around. So that was very helpful. And the transits have changed dramatically since when I started. You know,
What's a transit?
just shooting grade, making sure everything's level. I do a lot of overhead door replacements on the headers. You know, just helpful in a lot of aspects.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, those are all things that if you don't have the right technology for those, you can mess those up.
Decks help tremendously on decks, pole barns, truss work, all that stuff.
Right. Trusses are the stuff, the big supports inside the roof that holds up that roof, right?
Yeah, for garages and home additions, you know, we got to bring in engineered truss work on those.
Truss, yeah. I messed with the trusses in my old house, and they said I had to fix that before I could sell it. I tried to make a room up in my attic. I'm like, there's a lot of space up here. Not something you want to mess with. Trusses,
No.
supports, those things, decks, all of those need to be
made with integrity, and so that they're strong. You don't want a deck that you have to replace.
Just call an engineer in, you know, make sure everything's right, the gusset plates and everything's in the right spots. Nothing's cracked, nothing's compromised in that aspect, you know, because when they drop those trusses off, they drop them on the ground. So you really need somebody to come in and look at them before, you know, home inspectors are your best friend. You know, it's a third party that comes in. They really scrutinize everything in a way that you're not going to get from anybody else.
Home inspectors are your friend, everybody. We know that they come in.
They're not the contractor's friend a lot of times.
I was going to say, the contractors don't get along with those guys.
They
sometimes.
point a lot of their faux pas out.
Here's mistakes that were made, and those are things you do not want to have left because they could impugn the structure. You don't want a house that's falling down, a roof that's caving in, a deck that's pulling off from the side of the house.
Yeah, a lot of things
These are things that
can go horribly awry without bringing in a third party to scrutinize it before the completion of it.
I can imagine that's so true. Well, tell me the process here. What does somebody do to get a hold of you? They can go to your website. Do you see the?
Yeah, just call me. I'll come by and measure everything. Talk about options. Look at placements. Look at grades. You know, talk about products and applications. So you can get some numbers together. Compare apples to apples. You know, you're looking at other contractors. Like I said, make sure you're looking at them online, making sure they're competent. There's nobody. You know, it's hard to duck responsibility when you're advertising online.
Yeah, these days most everybody gets checked out online. They're going to say, "Hey, who are these guys, and what kind of reputation do they have?" You've got that A+ rating on the BBB, and a great looking website. I know they got in the works for you here. We're helping them with that. But literally, like these days, if you don't spend the time necessary to make sure that these are done correctly, you could end up with a final product that is not good. So tell me that process. When somebody you meet with them, you're going to go take measurements, you said, and then you're going to give them a bid right there? Or
take measurements, talk about products. I'll do my due diligence and come back and offer you options on every aspect of the project, you know, so you can make all your choices before I give you my numbers. So there's no going back to the numbers, slide some more beans over on the abacus. You know, a lot of the people, you get the job, and then once you get it, they start introducing these new numbers.
Yeah, you don't want... We're not making any last-minute changes here. We're trying to nail this thing down and get it done right. When people make changes, though, that's something you adapt to. You allow for that. Right?
I do, and I do a lot. I roll with the punches a lot, and I end up doing a lot of stuff for free just to appease people. You know, I realize that there's a lot of that in a project, so I try to be as accommodating as I can without changing the numbers. You know, it scares people off a lot of times when you got to keep sliding the beans back over on the abacus.
That's true, and we don't want to have to keep making adjustments, but somebody with your history can adapt to that. With that, I want to show everybody a little bit of your work. We got lots of stuff. When I was looking at your Facebook page, you've got an absolute ton of images out there. We're going to pick up a lot of deck work here. I'll put this up on the wall for everybody to take a look at here. But tell me, some of these deck pieces, these steps, man, steps are a complicated component. What was going on here?
Yeah, they change a lot. You know, I'm forced to put it in footprints. A lot of them, I'm putting them back together in the same footprint they want, and then things unfold. And, you know, I've changed a lot of my decks. When I first started doing decks, I was offering them for $10 a square foot, you know. And then I went up to $20 a square foot, and that's for just regular treated, not composite. And now I'm up to $50 a square foot, you know, and there ain't a whole lot of money to be made off of that. And then you get into the composites. There's so many different options in the composite.
Right.
And then you get to the railing. You know, you don't want to buy a junk railing on your high dollar composite. So the numbers climb fast on decks.
Very often, I'm looking at the supports here up underneath. Very often, that you still have treated wood as the supports. It's the decking itself that'll be what you use.
And they do offer composite poles now. They offer composite joist work. You could get the whole deck in composite, but it is costly. And you get steel. You can go with steel, and you don't have to come back and do it again in 10, 20 years. You know, that's about the life of a treated deck is about 15, 20 years. You could put some products on it to enhance that, zip tape and seal your joists, seal your ledger boards, make sure you're doing your due diligence on the products. But treated deck ain't gonna last your lifetime, you know.
Okay.
If you,
How much more does a steel deck cost to get?
There's the Fortress products. It's about 3 times as much as a treated deck.
Okay. As far as the supports go and everything.
Yeah, and then your railing, you know, you don't want to go with a vinyl railing. You want to go with a quality aluminum railing. I usually go with a Missouri vinyl product is what I prompt people to go with just better products. There's different series to everything. Even with your composite, there's a low end and a high end in the most expensive of the composites. So you really got to do your due diligence on. It's really just the ingredients in them is what changes the color charts. They try to make the colors that are more optimal, more expensive. You know, the newest trends in colors get more expensive in the series.
You know, looking, you've got some siding or some decking. You've got some fences. You make little houses for. I wanted to zip through here. We've got there's a big deck there.
Yeah, I love putting fencing up,
and
decks, siding, roofs,
and
driveways,
I saw a
sidewalks,
lot of roofing work that you've got there.
tile.
Some interior work. Tell me about these tile jobs here.
Oh man, I bring the same guy in. He runs under Midwest, and he does amazing work. This is all natural stone, and then there's your what type of layout you want. You know, your niches, all that. There's so many options to be made in a bathroom.
I see some roofing here, some more roofing, some canopies and aerials, and then wow, you've got some custom stuff. They're doing circles decks, and those are
yeah. They had a trampoline in there, and they was just trying to fill that area up and turn it into a barbecue area.
Okay, yeah, lots of that. But these pictures are all available on your Facebook page. Well, you're going to link to that from your website, and so yeah, making sure you dig
Your peer
correctly.
work,
I wanted to
so
jump ahead
important.
here. I saw there's some more grading and there's some cement work you've got there. There we go. I'm going to show that off to everybody. Take a look here.
Yeah, we do really good concrete work.
That looks like ice, smooth as ice, but the concrete. Now here I saw some interior. You're doing some plaster and some
basement rehab.
wall boards.
We
Okay.
did the whole framing, windows, doors, new joist work on that one.
There we go. Some windows, some ceiling.
Yeah, that was the drywall. I think that was 17,000 square feet we did on that one. Vaulted, barreled ceilings.
Wow, quite a bit that goes into that. Insulation had to be in place, and then this is some of the finishing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, you doing arches and wow, you've really got quite the selection there, and so it
Yeah,
looks
and I
like-
don't photograph everything. A lot of times we just we get to work, you know, and I forego the picture aspect. I need to have more pictures on my website to get a little more versatile in what we offer.
Well, you've got a lot of stuff going on here. It seems like you've been, with all the years of experience, you've got obviously a lot that you can do. Tell me then, as we finish up, what gives you the most satisfaction from the work that you do?
Just completing the projects in a quality manner, you know, in a timely, quality manner, and making customers happy where we can move forward to the next customer.
Well, that's what you want to see. Quality work done right the first time, everybody. And
Indeed.
so you can see here, it's in the name, Be Fast Complete. A job is not complete until it's been done correctly. And Benjamin here has done a great job for many years. 30 years, and since 2011 with your own business here. Run out of the St. Louis, most of your work is done here in the St. Louis area?
Oh, we work everywhere. We're in North County. We're in Illinois. We've done buildings as far down as Cuba, Bowling Greens. Just work all over. Wherever the opportunities arise, I don't like missing opportunities.
There you go. Somebody take the opportunity to get a hold of Benjamin here, and he'll take care of you. Stay tuned, everybody. Giddy up.